And on Airbnb, especially when we first started, it was about $2,700 that we were doing monthly on average.
My next guest is a young builder slash developer doing really, really big things. Give it up for Jeff Newton. How you feel? You feel nervous?
Nah, I feel good.
I was just making sure.
Happy to be here.
I'm nervous to talk to you, man, because you the man.
Nah, not at all, man. Not at all. I like to think that I'm a sponge forever, man.
You're a sponge.
Yep.
Sponge
I'll never stop learning. Never stop learning.
Okay.
Never.
I know where you're from. You're from my hometown, but tell everybody where you're from.
From Chicago, south suburbs.
Okay.
I grew up in Hazel Crest. Went to Hillcrest High School. So from Chicago, family deeply rooted in Chicago from the West Side. I love my family, miss my family a lot. From there, Ball State is where I went for undergrad.
Ball
finance.
State. Okay.
That's in Muncie, Indiana.
Man, finance, man. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
How'd you make it from Chicago to Texas?
That's a good question. So went to Ball State, spent my 4 years there. After that, just wanted to figure out what was next for me, and I wanted a completely new chapter, starting off fresh in a new city, and that's what led me to Dallas.
Okay,
yeah,
cool. Well, I think we met in a strange way, right? Because I was actually in the apartment, and I heard the word real estate, like because the walls are thin at the apartment. So I heard real estate, and I just came out, and I was just like, did you say real estate? You like, yeah. You looking at me like I'm about to get robbed. What's going on? But I was like, nah, man, I'm in real estate too. And man, I just like connecting with other people in real estate. And then come to find out, you actually do construction real estate where you do new builds from the ground up.
Yeah. Yes,
right.
Sir.
How did you go from finance into buildings from the ground up?
Amazing question. I first of all say, I mean, that's never strange to me. I mean, whenever I hear real estate, I jump right on it too, and I don't care where I am. If I'm in the bathroom, in the movie theater, I'm like, hey, what's going on? What do you do? But for me in finance, I actually came out of college looking for my next job, first job. And I was lowballed, man. Lowballed almost immediately. I mean, offers from $35,000 to $40,000. Had one guy tell me I'm gonna start in the basement and you come up whenever I tell you. So I immediately had to fix my mind around what my next career jumpstart would be. So I got into sales.
Okay.
Learned a little bit from different mentors or even colleagues. And then once I met my life partner, my wife, I was introduced to her father, who does a ton of real estate in Cleveland, Ohio. She set the standard and said, hey, we would need to be buying one house a year. And at that point, I dived in, learned a little bit about real estate.
Your wife set the standard.
Yes.
So your wife was in real estate before you?
She had the vision.
Okay.
She had the vision. We both were tackling the vision together.
Okay.
The way I like to say it is she's the visionary and I'm action.
You're the executor.
Yep. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That always seems to be the case with a lot of couples.
Yes,
you got the visionary, you got the executor.
Yeah. Yes, sir. So we started off in Airbnb. So we rental arbitrage pretty much all over Dallas.
And for those who don't know, what's rental arbitrage?
Rental arbitrage is when you work with a property manager or apartment complex, configure some sort of lease agreement that allows for you to lease their rental unit for your own purpose on Airbnb, VRBO, even if you have your own short-term rental platforms.
So it's like that's like a low entry into real estate for most people because you don't need a good credit score. You don't necessarily need a lot of money up front. You just need someone that you can rent property from and then rent on top of that property.
Right. And so that was why it was most appealing to me. Coming out of college, I didn't have the most money, you know, so I had credit cards that I used. I had lines of credit from Amazon, PayPal to furnish the places. And it was just my start, you know, to get a chance to learn a bit about my risk tolerance.
Okay.
So,
And
Yeah.
what would you say your risk tolerance is today?
That's a great question. It changes often. It
Mm-hmm.
changes often, really. With I think we talked about this a little bit too on the phone. Just
Mm-hmm.
as far as what the market demands, as far as
You
what.
know, that question may be a little bit premature. I really want to get into like your first, where you're like, okay, this is actually working. So you started in rental arbitrage.
Uh-huh.
Was it an apartment or was it a house?
So it was an apartment. So I actually
Okay.
had at once about 5 apartments,
Mm-hmm.
and then that's when I purchased my first condo.
Okay.
And that I had listed on Airbnb for a while, but I do have a long term tenant there now.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Wow. So with that condo, was that a little bit scary for you, your first purchase?
It was.
Because you were still living in an apartment at that time yourself?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So
Correct.
without you, and that's a great tip for a lot of people who want to jump into their own primary residence.
Hmm.
And it's kind of like you can use that credit power to
Hmm.
buy your first investment
Yeah.
property versus living in that property. Now you have your debt to income ratio is messed up,
Yeah.
and you won't necessarily qualify for that second property for a long while.
Exactly.
Was that was the plan ahead of time for you?
Yeah, I mean, I say it was the plan ahead of time, and then also it represented getting to that goal of one property a year.
Hmm.
So I think this was like the jump start of that. Now, once I got in, I did learn that hey, you have to figure out a way to build cash flow in a way for you to move into the second, the third, the fourth, and then that's when the challenges started to exist.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So okay, can we do numbers with that condo? How much was the mortgage, and how much were you charging for rent on top of it?
Yeah, so for that condo, I actually purchased it at 130. I
Okay.
know it sounds really low in 2024, but it is in a good area. Off of Cedar Springs in
Hmm.
Dallas, Uptown.
Uh-huh.
Um, so I got it at a good time back in 2019.
Hmm.
Mortgage is about 1,012,
Okay.
and on Airbnb,
Uh-huh.
especially when we first started, it was about $2,700 that we were doing monthly
Wow.
on average. Yeah.
Okay. Were you doing long-term rentals, or were you mainly focusing on weekends?
So our focus was mostly on marketing like a home. So I go crazy when it comes to our pictures, like offering touches that may be appealing to a weekender, that may even be appealing to like a long term
Hmm.
guest. So we had a mix of both. We've
Okay.
had like your intern that may be there for 3 months for the summer, but we've also had, some just moving to Texas. A really nice lady. She's just moving to Texas, waiting to purchase her next house,
Hmm.
and she stayed with us for almost 6 months.
Oh yeah, and I
Oh
bet
yeah,
it didn't.
yeah,
It
you
didn't.
said
It
it right.
didn't.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, 6 months,
yeah,
$2,700.
yeah.
That's money. But I'm sure it probably didn't start. She probably thought she would be there a month
She
or
thought
two.
she would be there for 60 days,
Hmm.
actually, 60 days, and
Right.
that was when I feel like that was around when the spurge started of everyone purchasing ton of homes, and it
Hmm.
was bidding wars between buyers. So yeah.
That's cool, man. And so that about $1,000 a month for the mortgage, was that including HOA fees as well?
So I did
Tax
have do
insurance.
have a HOA there, so that's about 270.
Hmm.
So like cash flow after cleaners and everything was anywhere between 800 to 1,000.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's a really good number
yeah,
too. I
yeah.
wouldn't mess with anything unless you're making at least $700 a month.
Right.
It really doesn't make sense at that point.
I 100% agree with
Hmm.
you, and that was part of the complications in jumping into purchasing and
Hmm.
renting rental units. Just because, I mean, the way I think about it is if you're going to use like a mortgage, right, and you
Hmm.
want to make returns like $700 to $800 a month, that's very difficult when you have someone that is a traditional tenant,
Hmm.
because in most cases, fair for them may be $300 to $400 higher than your mortgage,
Right.
right? As far as like fair market value for the rent. So
Hmm.
that's what made it very difficult for me to jump right into purchasing and renting out without like studying to where I felt absolutely confident. So I started an Airbnb,
Absolutely.
and that just kept me happy.
Yeah. Is your wife still deeply involved in real estate as well, or is she?
She's not. She has a few different passions now. One, starting off with her career, she's a nurse.
Hmm.
She's a nurse, emergency room nurse too.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
so we need all the prayers.
Yeah.
We need all
Yeah,
the
she
prayers.
comes on with a lot of stuff. You
Yeah,
know, me as a firefighter, I've definitely seen a lot and probably have delivered a lot of trauma to her table, you know, for her to
wow.
deal with.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah, because it's kind of like we're first responders, and she is too.
Mm-hmm.
But seeing that first, and then you're dealing with that issue, just getting them well enough to get to the hospital
Yeah.
so that she can actually save their life.
Yeah.
So kudos to the wife, man.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what's up.
For sure.
Yeah.
And so some things that she's working on now, shameless plug, she actually just started a health club, offering more so like health education around
shout it out.
preventable
What's the name of
diseases.
it?
Rose Valley Health Club.
Rose Valley Health Club.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and where's it located?
Here in Dallas. Here in
Okay.
Dallas. Here in
So if
Dallas.
people wanted to find it, they just need to Google Rose Valley.
Yep,
Health Club.
Google, Instagram, and yeah, she's mostly right now just taking calls or video calls and implementing to the program, which helps out with preventable diseases like chronic illnesses like hypertension, diabetes, high blood pressure.
That's amazing, man. It sounds like she's everything. Was that the reason why you pursued her in the first place, or did she pursue you?
Interested enough. So our story was in college. I pledged Alpha. We had a.
I knew it. I could just see it in you. I knew it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You're trying to act all conservative, but you want to make that monkey.
No, I'm always chill. I'm always pretty chill, man.
Yeah,
I represent through lifestyle and experiences. So, but yeah, we actually met through event that my chapter hosted, Stroll Like an Alpha. Seen her, of course, wanted her, put my bid in, and
what is she? I'm sure she's in fraternities. I mean, sorority.
No,
as well?
she's not actually.
Oh, she's not in a sorority. Okay.
Yeah. So that's how we met, and I really appreciated her consistency as well as support as I was transitioning from college to adult life, and from there our relationship just continued to grow. And
okay.
Yeah.
Well, what was that story? Like, I didn't get that story. How did she meet her? How did she meet you?
So we actually met through that event. It was Stroll Like Alpha. So we had about 6 weeks together training for a dance show, if you will. So that's basically where our relationship started. We started, getting to know each other from there. Again, communications were extremely heavy as I was transitioning from school to Dallas. And from there, stayed in touch, and eventually she came down and we nailed it in and said, hey, this is what we're doing. And then after, she actually had an internship in Dallas as well. So it just continued to, allow that journey and path for our relationship to go.
That's cool. Were y'all friends at first, or did it grow into something?
I think we both knew.
Y'all liked each other?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we both knew. And it just was more so just the timing working out for the both of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. And she's the reason why you're now doing new builds. Tell us a little bit about that. The new build situation, as far as I guess the process. If you were to break the process down in maybe, I don't know, 5 to 7 steps, what would be the process of building a house from the ground up?
So I'll say starting off with acquisition. I think it's a very important phase. That's when you are sourcing your land, figuring out your why you want to bring this product to this area or community, checking into due diligence, which, just to throw a few things out there, making sure there are any liens in the property, make sure it's actually buildable. After that, then you have pre-construction, which is getting your architectural plans together, moving into permits, getting your financing together if you need it, or building your capital stack however necessary for you to go on into your build phase. After that, then you go into foundation and structural, pouring foundation, rough plumbing, pouring foundation, your structural, which is framing, siding, and then from there, moving into your MEP, which is your...
What's MEP? Go ahead.
So that's mechanical, which is your HVAC, electrical.
Electrical plumbing. Gotcha.
Yeah, so those are your major systems.
Yeah.
And then from there, you can close everything up, and then go into your interior phases, and then after that, final touches, and you're out.
That's awesome, man. That's I mean, I know so many people want to get into new construction, and it just seems like there's a lot of obstacles, and I'm sure there is. Like it's more like without you even using your hands, there's a lot of headache involved in it as well. How do you manage that?
That's a great question. So I feel that everything it requires preparation, and not preparation in the sense that you need to know it all beforehand going into your projects, and that's in every field of real estate or even every field of whatever you desire to be passionate about. I think that preparation continues through each step, bottlenecks you run into, things you learn about, and which for me, it's taking what may be our bottleneck, what may be that complication, studying it, getting some more information from maybe a mentor or a friend that's in the space, or anyone that can help you and invest into you in the way that you can solve those problems that you may run into.
Yeah.
But I think it really takes a very active approach and not passive approach, where as if anything occurs, jump on it, learn more about it, because the more that you learn about construction, it makes it easier for you to troubleshoot that next situation on your next project and deal.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense, man. Me myself, I'm trying to get into new construction, as you know. So I think I know that my next project is going to be somewhere surrounded in new construction for sure, because I see the value in it. And me personally, I've only sold two properties before, and other than that, like I've always liked to hold on to properties because I see it as like a long-term investment. I see it as generational wealth. It's like even though you can make 100K today, I would rather just let that equity build up over time. And I don't necessarily bank on equity, but
Yeah.
I'm more so about month-to-month cash flow.
Yes.
So for me, I would like to one day just do a new construction project where it's just new construction
Yeah.
and it's mine,
Yeah.
and I know there's nothing wrong with it because everything is brand new.
Absolutely.
Is that something that you see for yourself in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. So the way I was introduced to real estate development, I still have my sales passion. So started off in sales, still have my sales passion. I love working with entrepreneurs, and I love the real estate entrepreneur space. I was working for doing a contract for a visualization firm that offers renderings for new upcoming projects that were all over. I mean, US, Canada. So I'm talking to visionaries on a daily basis about their projects and putting together the visuals for them to take and get financing through their investors, lenders, what have you. That was more so my introduction that, hey, it is possible. But then seeing the back end of it is, I think, investing into real estate, whether it's a single family home, building, it requires a significant amount of capital. In most cases, we can just call that 20% of whatever you're investing in. And in my young and youthful case, I mean, that pretty much may strap me unless I have another source of revenue for maybe the next 2 or 3 years to be able to do the next one, right?
For sure.
Even what you mentioned, equity takes some time to appreciate for you to be able to access that and move into your next project if you want to, or even improve your current one. So recognizing the development, something huge that I noticed is that you actually create value. So it starts with dirt, and you pretty much state what it's worth, right?
Yes.
And then you actually build based off of a cost structure that you've already prepared for before going into it. You almost immediately can pull that equity and go into your next project,
Right.
because you created it.
Within reason, though, you can state what it's worth, but it's also based on, especially if there's a lot of new construction around you.
Yeah.
What is the bank is still going to consider those new construction projects as comps?
Well, so I mean, as long as you're not in a place that's massive acres and there's no real comps for miles to come, you still will be able to build appraisal, right? Using, I mean, even in some cases you can use outside of 5 miles if there's nothing near you. But once you build that appraisal, those lenders actually take that value and then say, okay, hey, this is a lendable project. But more so what I'm saying is, once you purchase the land, you add the improvements yourself at your cost, right? And from like a investor perspective, investing in like a single family, I think a part of that value kind of shrinks a little bit because it's already existing. So you may add improvements like flooring, it could even be drywall or things like that, but you see the true cost.
Right.
And in some cases, and actually we've talked about this, you've actually done a lot of that yourself, right? So a lot of that labor turns into true sweat equity.
For sure.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you actually see the cost rather than, buying into the cost that has already been displayed.
Right. I have a ton of untapped equity in the sense like I don't pull a lot of cash. As I talked about before, I'm a firefighter, so I use a lot of my income to fuel real estate ventures because I know the power of utilizing debt, but at the same time I try my best to stay away from it because it's just I guess sometimes peace costs money.
Yes.
And debt will take away that peace that you might have in your head for whatever reason, like you're worried about mortgages and stuff like that. But at the same time, I know that, I've actually tried to write this on paper. Like, what would be like from starting from ground zero, person A, person B, none of them have any money. First person, and they both have, let's say they both have 100,000 cash. Use simple numbers, 100,000 cash each. One buys one property for 100,000, and then they're collecting rent, no mortgage. The other person buys 5 properties, using 20,000 a piece, and it's kind of like if both of them repeat that in the appreciation to say 5% per year, who comes out on top in 10 years? I've done that. I'm not trying to get you to do that math right now. That's a lot.
Oh, I was calculating a little bit.
I know you were, because you're smart enough to do something like that. But it's kind of like, it's almost like when I did that math, it's like the person who financed comes out on top just a little bit. But what's not weighted in that calculation is risk.
Yes.
What's not weighted in that calculation is a recession or the depression, or just the banks calling the loans due for any reason at all.
And you hit it right on the nose. It's simply peace.
Yeah.
Peace.
It's peace. Yeah.
Peace of mind. I mean, someone who secures a property with $100,000 of their own cash, they may not have as many worries as one that secured 5 properties that were leveraged.
Right. Exactly.
So,
and the profit margin per month is not going to be as much. So it's kind of like, I've met a lot of people who have a lot of properties, but they may be cash flowing maybe $300 a month.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Versus someone who owns that property cash, they're cash flowing $2,000.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they're not paying $1,700 for a mortgage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So I mean, with that statement, it's just more of so it goes into risk tolerance, peace, and I mean, more so structure too, because I mean, I think what we're talking about also is like personal. So, using personal funds for, $100,000 may give you the peace that you need. However, when you go into making an investment of $100,000 personal, I think the conversation is not only cash flow, it also becomes return on investment.
Right.
So the same way a loan works, right? You still want to get your return on investment of that $100,000.
Well, some people want that immediately per month, and then some people look at return on investment as equity.
Yeah.
So if you have 5-10 properties that are financed,
right,
and each one of them are gaining equity, that's going to grow faster than somebody who paid cash.
Right.
But it's like the peace element. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like that extra money that you're saving, or that you're making in equity, is the price that you would pay. The difference between the two is the price you pay for peace.
Yeah.
It's like a formula.
Absolutely.
So it's like really personal preference if you want that chaotic lifestyle, or do you want something more simple where it's like, I got my one property, I know I own everything under it.
To the second one.
I don't got to worry about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For me, I'm all about peace up until I can't.
Yes.
But I still want to grow. So then it's like, at that point, it's like, okay, I'll finance. But other than that, I was like, I would rather just let the equity sit there and just let the cash come in.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's a great mentality to have. I mean, both are, I think at the end of the day, I know my goal for myself, at least initially, was to have about 10 to 12 properties that I own that are all cash flowing free and clear. Right.
Yes.
I think for an individual that may use just their own cash and equity, I think that's more so like the retirement expectation of like 40, 50. It take that 40 or 50 years.
Right.
But for someone that may have takes risk with leverage and says, okay, hey, I'm just going to put down payments on 5, it may scale a lot quicker than it would take for someone that would just use cash. And that's not the benefit. But I do want to create the outlier and kind of debunk something here is that I think that piece is under structure. So we have to have businesses, we have to have LLCs, we have to have trust that protects our personal from collapsing along with whatever measures are out there that may cause.
Right. So you're referring to putting properties in trust or putting properties in LLCs within a trust
and
to separate it from your
using
personal assets.
Correct. And actively using those entities
Right.
to purchase, yes.
Okay. And then also being able to use those to pull money out to fund your personal lifestyle.
Absolutely. I mean, because at that point, let's just talk simply on a balance sheet perspective, right? When you're using entities to purchase, $100,000 house here, $100,000 house here.
Yeah.
I mean, your net worth grows quickly,
Exponentially,
right?
yeah.
Because your personal doesn't show that you're holding a loan for however long, right? But you do own these properties, and what you actually can show that your entities that you have ownership interest in owns a collective of your 10, 15, whoever, and that value becomes stated at that point on your balance sheet.
Absolutely.
And so that could be change things completely when you're looking at, all right, hey, I need to leverage this to move into this next project and this next project because your balance sheet looks a lot better,
Yeah. So if I understand you correctly, so would you say that your long-term goal is to have 10 to 15 properties?
It used to be.
Okay.
It used to be. So I want to emphasize that my goal in the career that I'm heading for now is development. So seeing things land specifically and noticing what I can do here and just creating value within that. I think that changes 10 to 15 and it could be more, right? Because I mean, I can look at maybe a 15,000 square foot lot and now subdivide it into, I mean, here in Dallas could be 5 lots because, I mean, we will build on a 2,000 square foot lot. And, at that point I can either subdivide and, sell it off to another investor at 50,000 a pop and make, money there, or I can build maybe 2 and the other 3 lots are free and clear, and that the returns from selling the 2 pay for the next 3 builds,
Oh, man,
and
that's
what
smart.
it changes it exponentially from, okay, 10 to 15 slowly but surely I'll get there to like, oh no, this kind of makes sense to do it. And it's not that I want to do it faster. It kind of happens that way in development,
And if you can and do it the right way, why
Yeah.
not do it? Why
Yeah.
not do it quickly?
Yeah. And I think my main thing is I don't want to do it alone. So like I'd love to, partner up with, great-minded individuals, like-minded individuals, or even people who are a lot further than me,
Right.
and figure out how we can have a value exchange that benefits each other, and, just continue to grow from there. Because I think the opportunity is there.
Right. And what type of partners? Obviously, in a partnership, everybody has to bring something to the table. So, what would you be looking for in a partner or partners, plural?
That's a good question. I say like exchange of value. I know me being young, like I have to say this. I'm sorry for saying I have to say this. I get so annoyed with, I've been doing this for 15 years. I've been doing this for 20 years. I want to meet people who are new. They want to learn more about it, and they have assets where it's like, hey, I'm great at finance. Hey, I'm great at bookkeeping. Hey, I'm great at architectural design. And we create a whole ecosystem of arms of different expertise to build a community, to build many communities all over the states. Hell, I'd even go into out of the country, international. So, but I think it takes brilliance, tenacity, and just more so willing to learn, you know, to be able to create a solid foundation of people that you can know and trust and be okay with growing with.
Yeah, trust is probably number one.
Yes.
Because you can't go far. And if you can trust, even if they have flaws, you trust that they're aware of themselves, and you can trust in their flaws. Like, oh, I know such and such is gonna be 15 minutes late. I can trust that.
Yeah.
At least you know,
right.
you know what's going
Yeah.
on. So that's cool, man. For people who see this video, man, if you're tenacious and you want to learn and you got a little money, or whatever the case is, how can people reach out to you personally?
Hey, so that's the one thing I will say. I'm a bit old school, so you know, most of my connections happen the way we met. Hey, you do real estate, you know, shake hands, exchange numbers, business cards, what have you.
Right.
But I am on LinkedIn, Jeff Newton. My Instagram is more so personal travel with my wife and stuff like that. So I haven't really branded the business as much as. Maybe I'd say I'd like to, or even, you know, will maybe in the future.
Or maybe somebody can shoot you an email.
Yeah. Jeffrey, Jeffrey, last name Newton, Newton, at jroseinvest, investco.com. J Rose Investments is the name of my company.
You are a really great person to know, and I don't want to just keep you to myself. You know what I mean? I want to,
for sure.
You know, because if I can't necessarily be a resource or a partner to you, maybe I can be the reason why you find a great partner in the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's pretty cool, man. You have a lot going for yourself, and you know, I'm not gonna tell your age, but you're young, but you're smarter than most people I come across. So
I appreciate
that's yeah. I still want to know what your long term goals are. You kind of skipped across that, but overall, man, I think you're doing an awesome job.
Yeah.
An awesome job for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll be honest, my long-term goals, I'm actually redefining. So I think in mind, I had 10 to 12 properties, all free cash flow, renting them out. But now I'm redefining, man.
Yeah. I want to be able to play this video back to you 10 years from now and then be like, damn, this is what
you got to have me back on. Maybe
you're going to be back on for sure, for sure. I really like the new build that you're currently working on, about to wrap up.
Yeah.
And I noticed that in every room there was a bathroom.
Yes.
And I don't see that too often. You know what I mean? I have seen it before. I've seen it on a ski trip in Colorado where every room had a bathroom. And I've actually done that in some of my rentals where the primary, like at least two masters had their own bathroom, but you actually did it in every single room. Was that intentional?
It was very much so intentional. I think right now in Dallas, it's hard to find a quality product for a price that is affordable for a lot of people like myself, you know, age, demographic, professional. And, you know, with that, I think it's good to give the opportunity for maybe friends to go into something together and, hey, you know, three soon-to-be millionaires, our roommates, you know, together. They have their own private bathroom. They have their own private spaces to have their own home within. And then even for a family too, right? You know, and I'm, you know, in the bathtub, I want, you know, my daughter or son, I don't have any kids yet, but to be able to be in their own bathroom. So it was very much so intentional. I think it's something that you don't see often. So I wanted to be able to create that space.
Yeah,
for the next family or friends.
That one was 3-bedroom, 3.5 bath.
Correct.
From what I saw, and then also, what was the other thing? I was like, oh man, this is super cool. We got the pantry. That's cool. All of the bedrooms are upstairs.
Correct.
That was an architectural choice because of the spacing.
Well, so that the first floor served as more so I like to call a community space. So that if you notice, you've probably seen it pretty much under construction. You should come see it now. It's a bar on the right side of the on the rear side of the home. So behind the island. So the kitchen actually extends the entire wall, and so the end of that kitchen is a bar. And so now that same family or even friends can host. Some are, you know, waiting for drinks at the bar. Some can hang at the island. It creates a community space, open, for your guests, family, whomever you have. Yeah, so it was very much so intentional as well.
Yeah, I love open concept, man.
Yeah.
As soon as I walked in, I'm like, man, you got the tall ceilings. For someone who is tall, like I love that. I hate to be able to touch the top of the ceiling,
Yeah.
even though sometimes definitely will buy one that's 8 feet tall. But you go with typically 10. Is that
Yes.
10?
Yes.
Okay. I was like, I said 10 is 10 and a half, but it was
It
right
was
there.
10.
It was 10.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's pretty cool, man. You got just a super, super nice home. I wish it was like, you know, I guess I could flash a video on here or something
Yeah,
like that.
absolutely. So it'll actually be available like next week.
Okay.
And then so I'll share a link with you or even a video.
Yeah.
So that'd be cool, and I appreciate that.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So, and are you, um, I guess, is this your solo project you're doing by yourself, or do you have partners with this one that you're doing
I
currently?
have investment partners, but
Okay.
this vision is all me. This time around, and I think, like I said, as we continue to meet, other individuals, I'd love to introduce some crazy concepts to the city. I really love the design piece. That's what I love, is just the design piece the most about all real estate. I just love seeing new things, implementing things that I may have seen in LA, may have seen in New York, or even international, and bringing that touch in one space. Like that's
Yeah.
what I love about it the most. That's what keeps me passionate about real estate.
Absolutely, man. I can't wait to see other projects. I noticed in this one, it didn't seem like there was any space that was wasted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that was really cool. And I guess we can credit yourself, obviously, and also the architect for putting that together for you, the plans themselves.
Yes.
That's cool. And I was like, man, by you having those, this is more of a, I guess, for plumbers out there probably can appreciate this, but the way the bathrooms are, I'm sure the plumbing had to be like the plans had to be on point just for the plumbing alone, the
Yeah.
drainage.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because they're usually the people try to stack
Yeah.
their plumbing right on
Yeah.
top of each other.
Yeah.
That's not the case. They're
Yeah.
spread out.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool as well. And it's a lot of privacy for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, I appreciate you doing the Chocolate Broker podcast, man.
Yes,
That's
sir.
two
I
chocolate
appreciate
brothers.
you for having me. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
for
Two
sure.
chocolate brothers.
Yeah.
And we got some good lighting.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Come on, man. I got you on the lighting
That's
for
cool.
sure.
I appreciate
But
it.
yeah, man, let's do this again in the future. And yeah, again, thank you so much, man. You had anything for me? Any questions?
Hey, man, I'm just excited to build this relationship, and I appreciate you for having me. And I look forward to doing it again.
All right. Cool, man. All right.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
That's it, man.